Hello. I'm waiting here for Todd Merrill to come in, and he and I will compare swag that we got at the pen show. And meanwhile, I can talk with you while we're waiting for him to see if he can get his thing ready. So, Karthikeyan Bas Karthikeyan, is that your name? Perfect. That's your name. Karthikeyan. Karthikeyan. K Arthikeyan. Okay, what I have to do is send you an invite, which I'm doing now. Copy. And then you click on that and you should show up here. I let you in, but you have to close your YouTube, otherwise we'll have echoes. And then you stay on the StreamYard link. That's how that works. So did you see the link that you click on? Or you've clicked on the link, or there should be under settings. Well, I'll just okay, I can't, oh, there you are. So here's, hello.
Hello.
Can I, okay. Do you know how I switch to the rear camera? If you go to your settings, you should be able to, there's a button that says rear camera. So when Todd joins us, I'll have to say goodbye to you, but I'm happy to say hello to you now. Hello.
Hello.
So what sort of things do you collect?
Um, I had to say something that feels good to write with, pretty much.
Okay. So,
Um, um, so I have, let's say, in the new ones, I have a couple of Lamis.
okay.
I mean, a Lamy 2000 and Ion and a Safari, 2, 3 Safaris perhaps. Yeah.
Okay.
And I have one Pilot Gold nib, no, two Pilot Gold nibs and a vintage capless,
Okay.
uh, a Parker Vacuumatic. Yeah,
Okay.
I have a bunch of Parkers.
Oh, great.
Um, yeah,
So hold on.
two. Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna add Todd for a second here, just to see
Okay.
if he's connected. Hello, Todd. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can. Hello.
Good.
Does that
And
Hello.
look
here
almost? I'm sorry. Do you see a photon
I
here?
see if I see a photon, and
Okay,
so
good.
KB, I'm gonna have you. I'm gonna remove you just so Todd and I can do our little presentation. But don't go away
Absolutely.
because we'll talk later. Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Nice to meet you.
Okay. So Todd, so far everything is good.
Good.
What I would like us to do, since you're the guest, you can start.
Well, that's nice of you.
But first, um, if you can, in one sentence, not too long a sentence, but one sentence, describe when you go to a pen show, what do you look for?
It's all feel, really. I mean, it's
Okay.
it's everything's in my mind. If I think about it too much, I'd be lost.
Okay.
I try to have backups. I have extra money. I try to, like that part actually is important. I think it's just kind of. Most people say I have a budget. I try to do that. I play games with myself and say I'm not going to buy anything, so that I try
Okay.
to force myself to have a little self-discipline. And
Okay.
I know my areas of interest are mainly 1920s. I try to get everything in one pen if I can.
Okay.
Great nib, certainly something that's attractive, of course. Um,
Okay.
I try to get user pens, of course, but then I get tempted by these really pretty ones every once in a while, as I know you've
Okay.
noticed.
Which we will see shortly. Okay, that was lots of sentences. I'll try to do mine in one sentence. Um, when I go to a pen show, I look for nibs, and they're connected to pens, but it's mainly the nib I look for. So, and because I'm cheap as well, or not, I didn't say you were cheap, but because I'm on a budget and sometimes I'm looking for pens that I can buy to sell to other artists and calligraphers, I try to buy pens that are modest. So I look in what are referred to as junk boxes and look under the hood of every nib, every pen to see if I can find a nice juicy nib in there. Or a nib of any sort of, it might be a really fine nib, it might be a broad nib, it might be a flexible nib. So I mainly go there with that in mind. So just to end with this, the pens you will be seeing me show you, with the exception of one, I already have one or more of them in my collection from a collector's point of view. They'd say, oh, don't you already have one of those or two of those already? It doesn't make any difference. They have nice nibs. I buy them. So how's that?
Beautiful. And by the way,
That's more than
I,
one nibs too.
I pretty much agree with you, except that you've gotten to I mean, I'm kind of coming from your perspective, although I have more distractions than you do, because you ended up with an entire pen shop, 40 years ago. So
Yes.
you don't need to do that so much.
And
So I'm making up a lot of
and
time.
I also have customers where you
Right.
don't necessarily. So if I were buying just pens for myself, I might have bought one of the ones that I bought.
Right.
But because anyway, so now you pick a single pen, and then I will try to, and I know what pens you bought. I don't know which 10 you've selected, but I will try to match or complement what you show me first with what I follow up with. So you're up, Mister.
Mr. Buster Brown. I'm kind of tempted, Buster.
Yeah.
Well, why don't I just start with this? This one's crazy. I wasn't going to buy one of these ever because they're so expensive, but it's a Waterman's 7 Pink. And I've always thought that it's basically a rebranded 55, except that it's got the fancy, band there and the numbering system, and it's got the cool keyhole nib that everybody seems to love. Focuses eventually. And it says pink on it and all that other stuff.
And pink is the premium nib. Everyone wants a pink because right now everyone wants fine flexible, fine superflex, and so there you go. You have a pink.
We finally have a pink, and it's got the right feed, which is nice. Which matches. And I wasn't going to get it, but it's it's in nice condition, and it's unusual because it doesn't have a whole lot of black on the barrel. So they're all different.
Yeah. Sometimes the ripples you see are almost 90% red and 10% black, and others are 50-50, and then some might be 70-30, more black than red, but most of them are sort of 50-50 or less.
Exactly.
And I've learned from various people that pink nibs are quite varied. They sometimes might be very much like a standard red nib, fine red, fine standard Waterman run-of-the-mill flexible nib, and other times they're really, really fine and maybe very springy. So what is yours like?
Mine is like, what is mine like? It's like nothing.
Okay. It writes with such a fine line it's invisible.
I have one of those. It took me quite a while to get it to kind of do its thing. Let's see if that's going to do any better.
Okay.
I wonder why it doesn't seem to be one. Oh, there we go. There we go. It is weird. Yeah, you're absolutely. That's what I've heard and seen. I mean, there's so much variability with these nibs anyway, no matter which one you get. Especially
I just thought that, when it came down to they're getting to the number 7 pen, and with Wall doing the personal point pen where they'd have 10 different nibs to choose from, that they would try to make them at least somewhat standardized, going from, anything goes under the hood to, if you're going to name something extra fine, it better be extra fine.
Well, it's funny too. We were talking about this. I think that the Wall were some of the most consistent in terms of how they performed, and when they said it was going to be, it's this kind of nib. It's they would just say flexible, and it would be there's flexible. There's a feel to them. There's a real, I mean, they all have. See, like Waterman's has a whole bunch of different feels to them. Whereas I think
every pen that was made up to even past the 51, all of the nibs were finished by hand anyway. And even the Parker 75, they were finished by hand. Or I suppose they're even finished by hand now. Some poor chump at a factory is going to run them past a smoothing emery, paper to smooth them out and call it a day. But back in the olden days, the blob of iridium at the end was less standardized. They would put it on there. That was fine. Anyway. So that looks great.
Yeah. In fact, I was talking to David Nishimura about that whole thing about what iridium was like, and it turns out that oftentimes they had kind of an oblong shape to the iridium itself. So even if the nib wasn't, a stub or an italic or anything, it would still have kind of a little bit of, a wider line on the downstroke because of the shape of the iridium, which is pretty cool. And what you're talking about, that variability with these different nibs, is very true. I mean, I bought a first year Waterman's 7 Red from David Nishimura a few years ago, which was cheaper because of the nib, but it's so flexible. It's just terrific. So, and yeah, there have been people who've said that they've got pinks that are, flexible certainly, but not like incredibly flexible, and others that are. So,
well, I think part of the thing with a pink, what makes a pink be pink in my mind is the fineness of the fine line and the springiness of the return. Now, the only pink I own is very, very fine and very, very springy. And I think it snaps back to 0 really, really quick. And its fineness is very fine. So with that in mind, my next one, or my first one that I will show you, is this pen. Now here's a Waterman 54, I'm sorry. And I bought this as part of the Fountain Pen Hospital grab bags. This was within a baggie that had usually 3 pens that might have had gold nibs, plus a couple of caps and a couple of barrels. And I think that this was a pen and a barrel. I mean, this is a complete pen in that baggie, but I might be wrong. I might have paid an individual price for this from them. But again, this is what I look for. I look for a pen that has a nice nib, and this one was a number 4 nib, and it writes very typical to any standard Waterman number, the number 2 flexible nib that you can find, except this is a number 4. And I like it because I like this particularly because it never had a clip. It didn't have chasing. It's smooth sterling, a smooth hard rubber with nickel trim. And it's about as basic a pen that you could get. And basic works for me. And it's a nice sturdy nib. I feel I could sketch with this, push it in almost any direction, and it feels very, very strong and sturdy. So even though I had thought I was going to, find a nice artist to buy this from me, I think I'll keep it because
that's great.
It's so simple. So,
and I have to say, I have nothing but sympathy for your inability to let go of these things. I really do.
Okay.
I used to feel like, how come you said, oh yeah, do you want a pen? Would you like to buy this? And I'd say, yeah, I'm really into that. And you'd say, on second thought, and I'd feel like, wait a minute, what are you doing to me? But now I get it.
I'm my best customer. If I'm showing anyone a pen and I suddenly see how lovely it is, I can't wait for them to put it down and walk away, and I'll put it right in my pocket. So
yeah, and believe it or not, I mean, since I went to the Ohio show, and that really it's kind of a long story, but to get to the chase, they had some auctions there. I was like, oh, that's
Yeah.
really cool. So I ended up buying a couple of lots. I forget how many. I think I ended up with like 7 pens. It was 6, and I got another lot that was just no. I got more than that. But
Oh.
anyway, they were such a good deal, and I was like, this is really cool, and I can actually sell these too. So I'm probably going to start selling a few things here and there as
Well, I
well.
think I
Especially,
think I think when we all find pens that we are no longer interested in, or we find a pen that
yeah.
we have duplicates of, and
Mhm.
you can say, okay, I don't need 3 of these otherwise identical pens. And I'm thinking more in terms of what the pen looks like, not the nib, because the nibs are easily interchangeable between one skyline and another, so you can switch those around. But you can get rid of. You don't need 2 burgundy skylines, do you?
Right.
But you do need. Anyway, it's your turn now. So you've got a fun wolf with
I
teeth,
did.
and
It's
that
just
I and you can see the teeth on this thing. It's really quite lovely when you see it in person. I normally don't go for uh, vanity pens. Do we call it that? When you see a car that has vanity license plates or vanity paint job or custom paint job, but that looks pretty cool. That little wolf.
exactly. That's how and it's funny because that isn't even what made me. I mean, it definitely is an eye catcher. There's no
Yeah,
question.
yeah,
But that wasn't even why I got it. I mean, what I got it because of the nib.
yeah,
And I've shown it to a few people, and they're like, "Oh, what's the story behind the wolf?" They're all into it. And
yeah.
just very briefly, the person I got it from actually picked it up in Istanbul.
Oh, nice.
Um, yeah, so
Well, so you have a world traveling pen.
I do.
You're okay. Good.
It's
So
a
let's
Waterman.
see this.
Yeah,
Let's see. It's a Waterman with
yeah, it's a
a
water.
Waterman from the 30s. Looks like
Yeah, yeah, it's a
plastic.
Waterman's 32,
Hmm.
probably from about 1938 or so. It was
Hmm.
never this particular pen was not an expensive one, but
Okay.
it was good. It was a solid Waterman's. It wasn't second tier or anything, or a
Okay.
student pen.
No.
It just wasn't fancy.
And
Um,
it was
but
made fancy with the cap thing done. So it
exactly.
was probably originally made for um, a person who liked wolves, I guess, and went to the jewelry store in Istanbul and said, can you fashion a wolf head for the top of my pen?"
I'm going to go with that as the story.
Okay. Well, or you can come up with a better one. So
Oh,
what kind of nib does this have here? You
this
bought it
well,
because
yeah,
of the nib.
yeah. It's the short answer is it's an artist nib,
Okay.
or sure appears to be one. If it isn't technically, it sure appears to be. I don't think that the artist nibs said anything on them at all.
So
Other yeah.
an artist nib, I've had pens that say artist pen, and they had a flexible nib in them, but I so what do you think an artist pen is? An artist
Well,
nib.
Waterman actually did make what was called an artist nib. That was just it was very very fine, quite flexible. People seem to think that it created enormous line variation. It didn't, but
Uh-huh.
it's very soft and very fine. Just a
Okay.
really nice nib that's not easy to find.
Uh-huh.
Um, and we'll give this a little dip. This was filled with some black ink, and now I'm dipping it. So let's see if we can get this thing to be. Here we go. It kind of
Well, you
adjusted
do
my
that.
angle
I'm
here.
trying to find. I do have in my ephemera, which I'm gonna. If there are 2 pieces of paper that I'm gonna sell, I hope, to Craig Roccanova, because he seems to be the ephemera Waterman person these days.
I'm glad there's someone who is, because I would love that stuff, but I just don't have the space for it. Or I'd rather not have the space for it.
Yeah. Well, I'm just trying to find. There were 2 pieces of beautifully printed letterpress printed advertising that Waterman made for their dealers. And one of them was about a safety pen, and it was mainly talking about how artists would like safety pens because of the being able to use India ink. And the other was another artist, a pen I think that they referred to as the artist pen. And it had a picture of a man, portrait of a man. And do you think I can find it here in my debris field? Probably not. But I don't think the nib is marked artist on any of these things. But
Right. I don't think they were. Yeah. I don't know if you can see the thin on this, but it's really solid.
so is that thinner than the pink?
Definitely. The pink, that pink is a little bit broad for a pink, but it's very soft.
Yeah, I mean,
Very,
it seemed broad to me.
Again, that's testament to how variable these things are.
So here's the thing I found. So this is the drawing from which the above 1/3 reduction was made was executed with a Waterman's Artist Special fountain pen. So here it is.
Oh, that's great.
All these lines were made with the same pen.
Good Lord.
So anyway,
Well,
I have another one of these. It's beautiful laid paper. I don't know if you can see it. It's letterpress. And again, I think that this is something that Craig would like in his collection of stuff because
Absolutely.
it's okay. So let me go dump that on the floor. Get back to okay. So that was yours. So
and by the way, you bring up a good. I was going to say before you move on. I was just going to say you bring up a really good point too, which is there's something really satisfying about getting the right thing to the right person. Especially the more you get into this. I mean, I think that'd be really neat to have, but Craig really is the one to have.
Well, he's the one that he takes pictures of them. He posts them online.
Yep.
I sold a bunch of stuff to Nicola Pang, all sorts of calligraphy books and primers and stuff, because he's the guy, he's the expert, and he's happy to share the information. So the other thing about that pen, the Wolf Pack pen, when you post it, is the back end overly heavy? Because
it's pretty heavy. I won't lie.
I would think that if you suddenly loose your grip on the pen, it'll flip backwards on you. Is it that heavy?
That hasn't happened yet. Of course, I haven't had it very long either.
I'm just curious whether if you were to just hold it in your hand right now and sort of let go, would it want to fall backwards on you? No, seems to be.
It's not bad.
Okay, it's just sometimes I like having a pen that is extra long and has heavier weight behind the fulcrum or toward the back of the pen, because it makes the line. It makes me want to make a lighter line because it's sort of pulling back on me.
Absolutely, and in fact, even more importantly, this is a nib that if you're not careful, you're going to destroy it very easily. It's so fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes me a little nervous actually, but it's so fine that if you catch on something, you're out of luck. I
mean, let that wolf be a warning to you. If you break that pen nib,
right,
he'll bite you. So
exactly, and the weight of him is going to help me not to do that. So there you go.
My compliment to the thing you just showed me is this pen, and it's one of the many wall all metal pens I bought, but for some reason this one, in addition to having a clip, it has this ring top, which I think was put in because there was a hole up there. And I think the hole originally was part of a pin, an enameled seal that would go on the top for maybe the Rotary Club or something. And maybe that had gone missing. And to fill up the hole, someone just added the ring top. That's my thought, but
Okay.
I don't know. But clearly, this was not factory, just as your Wolf pen isn't factory.
Okay.
But in this pen, I've already improved it or changed it. It did have a really rubbery Skyline, Eversharp Skyline nib in it, which I've taken out and I put into its place a wall a 10-point pen, I think. No, it's just
Oh,
wall pen number 2. Wall pen number 2. So, but the other thing about this pen, I bought maybe 4 of these, all metal pens. I'll show you 2 more. But this one, I didn't even see what it said, but there's a beautiful engraving on it. And the engraving says Golden Days. So
no, that's
I'm
wonderful.
imagining some young lady bought this for her beau at the end of the summer to remember her by before she went back into the tuberculosis ward to expire.
Oh dear.
You know, she would meet him out, on the boardwalk. She'd be in her iron lung or whatever, and they would meet and feed the ducks or whatever they have on the seagulls. And she thought, well, what do I do, Mama? He was so nice to me. I don't even know his name. So anyway, there's a little bit of romance to that Golden Days. So there you go. There's this one. Okay, back to
Great.
you, mister.
Oh, okay. So we're doing the
You've got
it's just
number
literally
3. You don't
okay,
have
number
to
3.
you don't have to relate to what I just showed you. I'm following your lead. Now if you
Oh,
want
that's
to
nice.
change the tack, and if this one makes you think of a pen you bought, that's fine. I'm just picking things. Okay, a Waterman.
This is the almost like the brother of that one. And this is I try to get everything into one pen if I can. Yes, it's about
Uh,
the nib. It's
Now,
also I'd like to get something I like American pens. I like pens from the 20s and earlier. This and I like them to be all original. Well, this breaks a lot of those rules right here.
it certainly does.
This is from the 20s. This is also from about 1938 or so. It's
Yeah,
a Waterman's 32A. I'm not sure what the A is all about.
yeah.
It's actually a Canadian pen
Okay.
and actually really pretty cool celluloid. Again, the photon isn't really
No,
doing much.
well,
But
I know what that pen is supposed to look like, and so I can see. I know what it is. It's gray, sort of mottled gray or striated gray with little red lines, vertical lines going through it.
and it's got the cool racing stripe feed,
And
which, by the way, Mike told me is they actually took some hard rubber rod stock of one color and then put another one over it.
Okay.
And then they carved it
Suddenly
out.
your voice
So
has gotten very
this,
quiet, and I don't know why.
I'm actually getting a phone call.
Oh,
Declining. Okay.
okay, good,
I hope
good.
you're back.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so cool. And that's the one that has the English nib.
By the way, that phone, I probably should have turned off phone calls. I never get phone calls. That's why I didn't turn
That's
that
okay.
off. Turn the phone
Yeah,
off.
that's okay.
Now
No
what it's
worries.
done is it's made you very quiet. So I'm just going to
Okay.
hope that I can hear you.
Okay.
But the other thing that this
Let me
does
just
that
ask,
is
can other
breaking the
people hear me
rules.
okay? Will Hodge or
You're
anyone in the
extremely
room?
quiet. I don't think there's anything I can really do to fix it. I mean,
Well,
it would probably ruin our little session unless you want me to.
No, I'm just wondering whether other people
Oh,
can hear me that are watching. if there's anyone watching. Because I'll just go mute and I'll go back.
Yeah, yeah, it's not you, but someone called. I mean, I can try the volume. Let's see. Nope, it's in call volume. I don't know.
Okay, so you can still hear me, Will? Okay. Okay, I think we're all okay. So
Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna wing it because
okay.
you're very quiet, and I have to put my head near the phone to hear you at all. But
Okay.
it's we'll figure it out anyway.
Okay.
This nib, speaking of breaking rules, is an English nib. So it's an English nib, a Canadian pen, and it's from the 30s, so it breaks all the rules. But it's
Well,
a great
it's at
pen.
least it's
And
a Commonwealth country. It's within the Commonwealth.
I'm going to pretend that I heard that. All I heard is country. Anyway, but it's a great pen. It's a lot of fun to write with, and it's very friendly. Let's see. There you go. Get myself comfy.
Cool.
There you go. So that's
Yay.
what that looks like.
Beautiful.
And
Well,
it's funny too. How you have said in the past that you're like, I don't really know how to use a stub nib, but I guess you were just saying really, it's not that you don't know how to use them, you just don't use them that often.
I don't use them that often, no.
Yeah.
So my next pen is the only one that I don't have yet, I think. And it was this one. And it has a nib that is useless to me. It's just a boring nib, but it's a Webster pen, and it has little ridges on the lever and on the clip. It looks like you can use it to strike a match against. It's a very heavy pen for being so small, but I got it because I have two others in black and red. So now I've got a gray one. So, I mean, this is what normal collectors do. They collect all the colors or all the
Right.
sizes. So sometimes I act like an actual collector, and I did so with this pen. It has
rules can be broken, right?
It has a very boring nib, Johnny One Note. It's but anyway, so there's that. Okay, next, back to you.
Back to me. This one I also got from the Gary Lair collection. There was such a feeding frenzy at that table, and I just didn't want to get in people's way, and I got there a little bit after everybody else did. I figured, oh, what the heck, I don't want this to be like Filene's Basement. For those of you who don't know Filene's Basement, it was a legendary place where bargain hunters would just kick and bite and whatever it took to get
claw their way to that scarf or that blouse.
Right, that was marked down from $800 to
and every week or every other day they would mark it. There was a standardization of marking down, and if you waited too long to run back and get the thing you wanted, chances are it might be cheaper, but it might be gone. So it sort of just got at consumerism at its best. And the table that we're talking about were the pens of the late Gary Lair, and I thought they only had the fancy pens that were worth hundreds and hundreds or thousands of dollars. And here I found late in the day that they had pens that were, and I'll show you one of them in a minute, that were priced oddly reasonable, or even a good deal, except there was a problem with them in almost every case. like that ring on the top of that that wall I just showed you, that's not supposed to be there. And normal collectors wouldn't want that. So anyway, so what are you showing me now?
So, or trying to. This one I didn't even really play with, so I'm not even sure, what its writing is particularly like. But it's very fine. It's a wall, and it's kind of a cool. I bought it for a couple of reasons. It's first of all, it was not expensive, so that was part of it. I was like, that's not expensive. I'll buy it. And so this is, oh yeah, that's gonna get wiped off again. There's a lot of ink on the feed, but anyway, I think this was a student pen.
From what company? Company? What company?
But it's a wall. It's a student pen, I think. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Probably from about 1928 or so. And it's just, you don't see these very often. I haven't really seen any. It's got like I don't know if you can see this. It's got a sort of like a black celluloid top at the bottom. And it's a pretty blue, pretty lapis color.
Okay, it's a lapis.
It seemed to have a little bit of flex, but I didn't really play with it, and it doesn't seem to be wanting to cooperate right now. A little bit of the line on it.
Well, it's lovely, lovely.
But it is cute. Yeah, I thought it was just a pretty color. It's going to need a little tweaking, I think, but it was just nice. I just thought it was a little bit different. And sometimes, these student pens are they just have, some character and some design and sometimes even some nib characteristics and performance that you don't find in other pens. So that was, part of why I got this one. But this one's going to need a little tweaking, but it does have the roller clip too, which is always kind of a hoot. It's kind of another one of the 80 million gizmos that Wall tried, as did many other companies, but Wall was all about those, their adjustable nibs and whatnot.
On that note, I will show you the most expensive pen I bought at the show. Was the Deco Band in black, gold seal, oversized, whatever they call it, and it has a flexible nib in it. I think it's marked flexible. And I wasn't sure I had this pen, but it turns out I do. So now I can finally make a pair of earrings out of the Wall Eversharp rollerball clip Deco Band earrings. Do you have yours yet, Todd? No.
I beg your pardon?
I'm going to make a pair of earrings out of these now that I've got two.
Oh, they might be a little dangly, but
they might be a little dangly, yes. But anyway,
you'll have right stretched lobes.
Yes. Anyway, it's a lovely pen. It's a pen that I probably will rarely use because it's just a little bit too big for my pocket and my hand, really. I would use this maybe if I had to sign something important at the bank. Maybe I'd drag this out to impress the banker. Not that the banker would know up from down, but it's quite lovely. Very.
Well, I can tell you impressed me.
Just a lovely pen. Okay, back to you, mister.
Alrighty. This is a pen that David Nishimura held onto for me. It was so nice of him because I bought a few pens from him, and he said, "I was thinking of you." It's a maybe Todd. It's an eyedropper. He said that it's an unusual one. I hadn't seen one of these myself. It's very plain and elegant. No clip. There's no lever, of course. There is an engraving. Let's see this for a minute. There we go. I think it says December or something.
It's a name with December 1913 or 1915, I think, or 1919.
And it's got just enough subtle wear that I'm not terrified to use it.
Yeah.
The fact that it's an eyedropper is fabulous.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about a sack going bad or anything. I secretly want more of these.
Yeah.
But
That, for those people in the audience, that is the pen that I coveted. And I think I could have wrenched it away from him, but he got there first. And but I know that if you decide that you don't want it, you know who to call.
well, you do get first dibs. How about that?
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. I did write with it as well. I did test it out at Scott's table, and it was quite lovely. There's something about that pen. It's almost as if a number 2 Ticonderoga pencil fell into the pen and plating wear machine by mistake. There's something very basic and simple and elegant about that pen that really struck me. It's just a tiny bit too thin for me, which is odd because I like thin pens. There was something just sort of odd about it for me. Now look at that. Look at that lovely fine line it makes. But here's my compliment to that pen, mister. It's a maybe Todd lever fill. It's the daughter of your pen, the illegitimate daughter. While that pen was on the front lines in Flanders, he had a little entre-nous with a French lady, and 9 months later, whatever the gestation period for pens is, this object was born. And it's a smooth gold fill with equally wear, like your pen, has some dings in it, has also some initials on it, something something to something something. And if I had my loop here, it's the same last name. It's WF to HF. And what I like about it is its nib allows me to go from 0 to 60 in 1 second. Almost immediately, I can go to a fat line. So at some point, I mean, look at what happens. It just,
yeah,
it's
beautiful.
really cool. And it's everything about it is to make big fat letters on this little tiny pen, which is sort of surprising. But I like the fact that it could fit into my hand almost invisibly, and I can just be writing like this, writing nasty notes, and the teacher wouldn't even notice. Oops. The section is a little loose, so I may have to put a little piece of tape or a little piece of paper in there to sort of have it be friction fit better. But when I knew that we were going to play this game today, I knew that this was going to follow your pen because it's bastard daughter. Okay,
Beautiful.
your turn.
This is a Waterman's 412. And I've been really wanting one of these for quite a while. Hadn't
You don't
found
have
It's
one?
the trefoil pattern,
You
and
didn't
I
have
think
one?
does this one have an engraving? It does. This is a really nice engraving here too. I don't know if you can see that.
I can't see the engraving, no, but
It's sort of a vertical thing. It's the
I think I saw it at the show, but
yeah.
uh,
And these have a little bit of residual ink in them. I'm going to see if I can kind of
and that's one of the
revive
ones
them. If not, I'll
that's one of the ones you
get some
got from
actual ink.
Satan.
Yeah, that needs actual ink. Oh, let's get some actual ink in there.
Is that one of the ones you got from Satan?
1 second here. I'm trying to remember. I think these are from. think he started out around 1908. They made them certainly through the teens. It's a little hard to
Your
with the
sound is
lighting.
going away again.
All right, give us a little room. One sec.
Lovely.
So that's what that one does.
Nice.
It is incredible how different they are, isn't it?
Well, it is. It is. Is that one of the pens you got from Satan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Where's that Satan?
There is the Satan aspect. Well, I'll try to look past that.
Yeah, it's actually a seitan, the Oriental protein that you get from beans.
Okay. Okay, well, I will follow that up with its later twin, which is this one, a lever fill, same pattern, the trilobe or trefoil. This is one of the ones I got from the Gary Lair collection, and it had a beautiful, oh, no, I'm using the wrong one. It has an accountant nib, but that's this pen. This is another one I got from him, from that collection, and both this one and the other have replacement clips. They're not the sterling clips that they should have. So they were discounted in price, and but I don't care. I mean, it doesn't bother me that much that they don't have the sterling clip. And so I'll just show you the other one as well. This one I also upgraded the nib. The nib that was in it was a little bit bent, and I just yanked another nib out. So this is the one that I got two sterling overlay pens. These are the two. And this one has the accountant nib in it, which is just excruciatingly fine. You can't see the lines I'm making, but I'll hold it up here to the, there we go. Now you can see they are actually being made.
That's amazing.
And both MG Ward and Scott Jones loved this nib. They wanted to buy the pen from me, and I said, well, I'm sorry. It's not for sale.
Sorry, I beat you to it.
But I did find accountant nibs for them. Other people had them, but they weren't as nice as this one.
And you have Otto to thank for that tip, don't you?
Someone is talking about Waterman 7.
I'm saying that
Lost in the
you have
mail.
Otto to thank for
Thank
for turning
no,
you on to
Otto.
accounting
I
nibs.
always loved accountant nibs. Otto told me about rigid nibs or firm nibs. He said the Waterman firm nibs actually are really neat, and I tried a few, and they are still have that flexible gene in them. So I do thank him for that. But I've always loved really, really fine nibbed pens. Okay, back to you. And I showed two sort of at once. So if you have two that are similar that you want to show together.
Well, it's funny you should do that because I do. In fact, I know that your rules, as it were, for this video were to try to get 10 pens that were as different as you could get them. But I thought this is kind of a fun example of the differences in pens that are seemingly very similar or even the same. This is another 412 that I got, and it's a little darker, the hard rubber, but the pattern is slightly different. I don't know if you can
Yeah,
tell
and
or
I
not,
can
but
see it. It's very it almost looks like the early fine silver ones.
yeah, it's so yeah.
It seems
You
more
compare it
Art
to
Nouveau, more elongated shapes.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
beautiful.
subtly different. And this one has again a different nib. I'm not sure if this one's going to work if I dip it or not. Let's try it. If it doesn't, I will. Yeah, then also needs a real big dip. Hold on. Sometimes these work well when you, if they haven't been cleaned and you just dip them in water. So often they write fine.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of old ink, 50-year-old ink,
with old ink, and for some
or at
reason this
least
one just these aren't. But
1-year-old from the last pen show ink. Last time someone dipped it.
I apologize to you and to anyone watching that I am.
Oh, sorry.
That I'm barely able to hear anything out of my phone because of that phone call. But I'm relieved to discover that
Your sound is going out again.
the sound is it gone? Is it back?
Well, it's better. I mean, it comes and goes. I don't know what's wrong with it.
But anyway. Yeah, this is a great nib.
Nice.
That's the feed there.
Todd, Todd.
I'm sorry?
As the sound is kind of annoying, I'm just going to do the last pens in one group, and then you can do the last pens in one group. Is that okay? Just to make it go a little faster. The last 4 pens in my selection, I bought 4 Conklin Crescent pens. These are 2. One is an extra long with a flat top, sort of a late version, and it has not a very flexible nib, but quite a lovely fine semi-flex. And then I got this little bulldoggy, fat little stubby one, which is quite lovely with a nice big fat stubby kind of a flexible nib. And I got both of these and the 2 others from my neighbor up the street, who I haven't seen since before COVID. And then there she was at the pen show. And she gave me the Pierre Gustafson deal, which she seemed to be giving to everyone. So good for them. And then the last 2 are 2 more Wall all metal pens. One is, and I got both of these from the same collector, same dealer that I got the other Wall. Really nice, flexible, yummy nib on this silver filled one. Just juicy, 1 mile a gallon in ink consumption, but really quite lovely. And then a number 5 size with an equally yummy nib on this one. So I was very happy with both of these. And in fact, I was happy with almost every pen I bought. And they'll either make me happy remaining in my greedy little fingers, or I bought them so that I knew that I had duplicates here, similar things here, so I can sell some of them to you. And not you personally, Todd, but you, the general public. So that's my plan. Okay, back to you.
All right. I hope the sound is better. This is a yeah. What is this? This is a Waterman's 454.
There's some place where your mouth is that makes it work better. Can you put your head next to the microphone?
Is this good?
That's not working very well. I don't know what's causing
Is it this?
That's better. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Keep your
to make
mouth
a long
there.
story short, somebody called me. It was and it was an appointment that I need to make or something.
Yeah.
And that just screwed up the audio. So it was incredibly irritating. But anyway, this is a Waterman's 454.
Okay.
Or 452, I'd rather.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Pansy panel?
No, it's a Gothic.
Oh, Gothic. Okay.
So it has the little squares. And
Yeah, the Purina dog chow squares.
yeah, just another nice nib. Let's see.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Smooth.
Do you want me to do another one, or do you want to do the next one?
Yeah, just do all the rest of the ones that you had for this. I did my last 4, so you must have 3 left, I
I
think.
love these. I love early Schaefers. I love Schaefers with flexible nibs because they're usually, what do you call it? Nails. They're usually no fun to write with.
Yeah.
And this is a great pen. Very simple, nothing complicated. Just a nice writer. Great nib.
Yep.
Hold on. Let's see.
Someone, Umar Khan said, "Hi, Todd and Pierre. Great to see you both together."
Great to hear you. Or hear that you're there, I should say.
That's lovely. The Schaefer self-filling or even lifetime nibs that are, or any nib that Schaefer made that is flexible is really a nice flexible nib. They're I bought one at the show. It's right here. It's semi-flexible or fine flex, and it's a lifetime nib, so they're great.
And this is number 10. This is a Conklin Crescent filler.
Okay, Conklin Crescent.
Hey, one sec. There we go. And this is the last pen I bought at the show. This is the last one I got. I got it from Mike also.
Yep. I think you must be one of his most loyal customers.
Mike was always, I've said this, he was always really good, but in the past few years, he's just gotten insanely good. I mean, he really tweaks them. He sets them up in the way that a great guitar shop will set up a guitar.
Yeah.
I mean, the performance is amazing.
Yeah. Cool.
And again, it's not nothing, super fancy or terribly unusual. It has it's got a little ding on the band. Somebody apparently wanted to test it.
Ding schming. Dings are okay.
Yeah, there's a little ding there. So somebody, not a ding, but somebody wanted to test it to see if it's actually gold.
Yeah, we'll call it a fencing scar.
Yeah, it's German that way, right?
It's a fencing scar.
Oh,
You weren't considered handsome unless you got a fencing scar. Cool.
Yeah. So there you go.
Is that it then?
That's it. I think we did our 10. And by the way,
I think we did fine. What I'm going to do, Todd, thank you so much for doing this. We have to figure out how to make our vocal stuff work better. I'm gonna hang up and do a little bit of returning some phone calls and stuff that I got. And but thank you again, and we'll do this again sometime. Maybe with 2 other. Maybe it might be fun, Todd, to do the song, the duet from, is it Annie Get Your Gun? Anything you can do, I can do better.
Oh, that's great.
Where I'll find my finest nib and you'll find your biggest pen, and we'll just sort of do square off that way and see what we show up with. Maybe we'd have to have some rules in the beginning, but even the one right now, you bought maybe 20 pens at the show, maybe not even 15
No,
pens.
yeah, I was comparatively restrained. I bought only 15.
So you only had to leave 5 of them in the weeping in the wings here because you didn't show them off. But you know, there was one I bought, and it's right here. I didn't have a cap. I found a cap for it. This was one of the baggies of Parker parts, and it had this really great Parker dual fold nib, and I can push down and go any direction I want, and it'll be really fun to do drawings with this. So I found a cap that fit, put a sack on it, and I'll, you know, have fun with this, even if no one else finds it fun. I'll have fun with it. So anyway, well, good talking with you.
You
Nice seeing
too.
the audience. And for the people, see consciousness, whoever that is, come back and visit another time. And so with Umar and the other people that were in the room, we'll catch you later. I hope to be
How
doing
fun.
more of these things in the future. I've been away for a while because of being in Minneapolis for the summer and stuff. It's just hard to get back into the swing, but it's fun.
It
Okay,
is.
bye-bye.
So good doing this. And
Yep.
next time I'll turn my phone off.
Okay, great. Thanks. Okay,
Okay.
bye-bye. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.